Hello and welcome to part 4 of the FM Russia 2018 preview, where, as you can see, we're going to be talking about groups E and F today and picking out the players to watch from those two groups. I'm Tom, you may recognise me from the FM show, and I'm joined once again by Steve from Scout Football. Pleasure to have you here again, Steve.
Pleasure to be here again.
Good stuff. Now, before we get started with picking out those ones to watch, we thought we'd let you know about Football Manager 2018 that is on sale currently across every single version of the game. That's mobile, touch, and the desktop version as well, on sale for up to 66% off. So if you fancy getting involved, then go and grab it. What better time to do so? And don't forget to check out the Football Manager Instagram, where we'll be giving away prizes across the tournament. We've already given away some absolute belters so far, and there's going to be more to come over the coming days and weeks. So get yourself on there and check it out. But without further ado, I think it's time for us to go and preview those players and pick out the ones that we think are going to have something to say at this tournament. So let's start with Group E, and a name I think will be familiar to many of you watching this. It's Breel Embolo. Now, he's obviously been an FM Wonderkid for a couple of years now. I know I've had him in my save, and he's performed absolute wonders for me. So here's hoping he can transfer that form from the virtual world into the real world at this tournament. And I think there's every chance that he might be able to. Now, his nation have somewhat, I think, a reputation for sticking with the same starting 11 for quite a long time now.
Yes.
There's not a lot of movement in and out of that starting 11. But they do have a number of young players, and Embolo's probably the best of the bunch. And I think he will get some game time, so he's really going to have to capitalise on the time that he does get if he's going to have an impact. But I think he can do it.
Yeah, he's another one of those players that have recovered from a big injury that's coming back, and this opportunity with the national team, he'll come off the bench and be an impact player. Will really give him an opportunity to put himself back into the limelight. And then when he comes off the bench, he can play a number of roles up front. He can be more of a wing player that he's quick and can dribble, but then he can also play that target man kind of role because he's big, strong, plays well with his back to goal and can get others involved. So yeah, he could be one to look out for off the bench.
Yeah, exactly. He gives them different options. I mean, it's almost like having two players worth on the bench, because he can, if you're looking for someone to launch a ball up to in the last 10 minutes, he can play that role. But as you say, if you look for someone to maybe create something on the wing, again, he's got all the attributes needed to do that. He's already got decent attributes in all the key areas. He's got 13 for finishing, which will obviously only continue to develop as he gets older. 16 for pace, so again, perfect impact sub in those last 20 minutes. If need be, penalties. We haven't talked about penalties in any of these yet. 13 for penalty taking. So if it gets to extra time in the latter stages, he may be thrown on in that capacity as well. So he has got a lot going for him, and I think, yeah, you're right. Coming back from injury, it's a perfect chance for him to make an impact and potentially, catch the eye of a few of the bigger clubs in Europe, because he's always been on the radar.
Yeah.
He has always been on the radar.
Yeah.
Maybe this is the time he can finally get the move to one of Europe's elite. Let's move on now to probably the favourites in the group, and I think one person who could really shine for them isn't actually an attacker, despite the fact that there is a lot of attacking talent in this team. It's actually a defender, and it's Marquinhos, who I think has the potential to really stand out as one of the more noticeable aspects, just because of the fact that he will probably be the leading defender for this nation.
Yeah, and for someone so young, he's so inexperienced. He's played so many big games at club level, at international level at such a young age, and yeah, he will be really important because his nation are going to want to play attacking football, throw players forward, and he's going to be tasked with keeping everything tight at the back, but also trying to play out of defence, launch attacks himself. So in that role, he's already proven to be effective, so I think it'll just be business as usual, trying to just do the same thing that he's always done in his, so far, stellar career.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we saw 4 years ago how, at times they were lacking a solid defence. They did try and pile forward, and it did cost them eventually in the semi-final stage. So,
and just with some silly mistakes as well. And he's the type of player that doesn't make those mistakes.
Exactly. He's so consistent, and like you say, he's already got massive amount of experience at the biggest level of the game. So he won't be fazed by anything that's thrown at him, I don't think, in Russia. And again, he's got a great footballing brain. You can see here his mental attributes. They're all pretty much green across the board, a sea of green, and that's exactly what you want from someone playing in that central defensive role. Because it's not so much as important, not only important about how well you play the game, it's also how well you read the game and anticipate what the striker's going to do, and he has that in abundance. He's also got 15 for marking, 15 for heading, 16 for tackling. So the pedigree of a top international centre-back is already there. And yeah, I think he could have a really big say in his nation's fortunes at the tournament. Now, here's a name that I think will be familiar to, again, many FM fans out there, someone who's been a bit of a wonder kid over the past couple of seasons. That is Andrea Zhu Kovitch, who's been something of a revelation at club level. He had a real impact back in his native land, and for reasons that we won't go into here, he's moved on to Portugal, and again, he's started to really develop some good performances at that higher level now, and there's every chance that he's ready to take the next step. And what better way to do it than on an international stage like this?
Yeah, and he's such a damaging player. So coming off the bench, again, fairly quick. Will play wide, probably come on the right wing, I'd say. It's really dangerous cutting in onto his left foot. His left foot is perfection. Perfection. It's fantastic, amazing to watch. Loves to dribble, cut inside, and shoot. That's his main go-to move as an attacker. But he can also cut into those channels and then actually cross and use that curl to hit a target man or play someone else through. But yeah, he'll be a really important impact player, I think, for them coming off the bench.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you mentioned about his crossing ability, 16 there, 16 for dribbling, 16 for technique. So he's clearly technically able and technically gifted enough to make an impact off the bench for his club. 14 for pace, 14 for acceleration. Again, the perfect stats that you want to see for someone who you're going to turn to in that last 25, 20 minutes.
And he's won international tournaments at youth level as well. Mm-hmm. And in those teams, he was quite often the go-to guy up front, carrying the attacking burden. So he knows what it's like to lead his country to glory.
Yeah, and I think exactly that experience of having, the weight of the expectations of a nation on your shoulders, that he's used to that at youth level at least. And if he can carry that across, then he could be quite a danger, I think, off the bench. And we've talked a lot about, throughout the series, we've talked a lot about players coming off the bench and how much of an impact they can make. Well, this is someone who can really, really change the team's fortunes, especially in that group where it's very tight. Very, very tight. We're expecting quite a few open matches where you may be looking at some points to throw 2 on up top.
Yeah,
he could do that. If you're looking to try and keep it tight and shut out, maybe holding on to a 1-0 lead, he can come onto the wing and do that as well. He's so versatile.
Hold it up, take it forward, waste some time with the corner flag.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that versatility is going to be one of his biggest strengths of the tournament. So here's a player that has been the subject of some, quite frankly, ridiculous transfer speculation in terms of the fee that's being talked about him, and that's Sergei Milinkovic-Savic. Now, I mean, he's had a fantastic last 2 seasons, last 18 months at club level. He's been really like the main talisman for his club side. Can he carry that form across to the international side?
It'll be interesting because his nation sacked a manager that refused to play him, and now they've kind of brought in a system that's really centred around what he's able to provide from an attacking standpoint. So he'll play hopefully a similar role that he's played in Italy at club level, being like almost a target man that works off the strike. It's like a reserve target man kind of role where he can bring the ball down himself. He's so big and so strong, and then also combine that with he's got a lovely first touch, and his dribbling is just out of this world for a guy of his size, and then can hit the score sheet. Scored a lot of goals this season, and it was just dominant in every aspect really of play.
Yeah, I mean, his FM stats show that he's excellent in the air. Heading's an 18, strength is an 18, which is obviously very helpful in the air as well. His balance is an 18. But then you say about how for a big man he's got such delicate footwork. Like his dribbling's 14, finishing 14. You said he scored a lot of goals. So he's something of an anomaly in modern football. He's a taller player who can actually produce some finesse with his feet. He's not just being labelled as a lump up top. He's actually going to be, as you say, being brought in to play off the shoulder of striker and really try and create some chances for his team.
And the role that he plays makes him really hard to mark because he isn't a lead the line type of player. So he will be play a target man type of role. But yeah, playing him behind and making the defensive midfield work as well will be one of his strengths, and so that kind of disrupts the whole structure of the defence. Do you send a centre back a bit forward trying to press him, but then you leave space behind and you disrupt your structure of trying to play people offside, etc. So yeah, he creates a lot of problems for defences with conundrums like that.
Do you think that his nation's chances of success are pretty much solely reliant on him turning up and delivering?
Oh, he's obviously going to play a massive role in it, but I still think they have other players that will take some of the pressure off him as well. they do have a lot of experience, especially in defence.
Very true, very true. So hopefully Milinkovic-Savic will be able to just concentrate on the attacking side of the game and be able to produce some similar sort of form that we've seen at club. Moving on to Group F. Now we're going to take a look first of all at Hirving Lozano, someone who had a really fantastic season this season and has really been finding his goal-scoring form at his new club in Holland. And there's every chance that he could transfer that form across to the international stage as well. And he probably will be their main focal point in attack, you'd think.
Yeah, so he's going to play a role on the left wing where he's going to be looking to cut onto his preferred right foot very often. He's a player that is quick, good dribbler, and loves the direct line on goal and loves to score. So he scored 17 times in the league this season, 8 assists, so he can create as well. Really excels at a little bit of everything, so he's a good focal point that can bring himself into the game in a number of different ways depending on what the situation asks for.
Yeah, I mean, you said he's got a bit of everything. He's got 16 for acceleration, and according to Football Manager, he's got 15 for dribbling, 14 for finishing. So he does have that variety that you would look for, especially in someone from a winger who's looking to cut inside. He's perfect for that role. And you said about how many goals he scored at club level. Tailed off a little bit towards the end of the season, but if he can just recapture some of the form he showed, particularly in the early stages of the season, maybe an extended break has helped him out. Then there's every chance that they've got to progress from what is a very, very tough group to call. Now, moving on, we're going to talk about Emil Forsberg here, a player who could have a really, really big impact for his nation. In the absence of maybe one or two bigger names who've sadly departed the international stage, but he could definitely be one to step up and fill those shoes.
Yeah, he's definitely the big creative threat. He'll probably start out on the left and look to push down the wing and feed the two target men up front. But it's kind of interesting. He's their best player, you'd say, and you'd think that possibly as a chief creative threat, they'd look to play him through the middle, but he's played on the left for them regularly, so I guess they would just go with what they've always done and hope that works for them. Yeah,
it's a shame because you said he can play for the middle, and his attributes back up. He's got 16 for dribbling, 16 for balance, 15 for first touch. So he has got the skill set to play in that middle of the park role, and I guess that there is the danger that he just gets isolated out on the left a little bit, but
especially in a team that looks to sit back and try and hit
exactly
counter.
Yeah, I mean, if the game's going against them, then he may not see as much of a ball to make an impact as he would do for his.
Although at the same time, playing on the left, it might give him a bit more space to then break on the counter and look to find pockets out wide instead of in the crowded zone centrally. So it could work one of two ways.
Yeah, especially if they soak up pressure at the back, then they can just spray the ball out to him, and he's going to be ready to go and charge down that flank. I mean, he's obviously going to need support from the strikers if he's going to be doing that, but they've got a decent strike force, and potentially he could be creating most of their chances at this year's tournament. So now we come on to Huan He-chan. Now, he's someone who is going to have a big say in his country's chances at the tournament. I mean, he's going to be playing probably up front in a 2, so a lot of pressure on him. How do you see him operating in that striking force?
He's probably going to play that grafter attacking role as a bit of a decoy, a guy that looks to take pressure off the rest of the attack. He'll be probably the guy tasked with being the first man out to press the defence, press the goalkeeper, and try and force errors that way. And then on the ball in an attack, he'll try and provide decoy runs probably into the channels and try and pick up scraps wherever he can.
I mean, it certainly looks like he's got the game to do that. I mean, he's got an off-the-ball rating of 16 according to Football Manager, 15 for acceleration, 15 for pace. So he's going to be very, very mobile, which is something that when you're playing in a 4-4-2 formation, it's definitely in the modern game. If you can switch it up and maybe move out into a 3 at times and switch back into a 4-5-1 at other times, that's going to be really, really helpful for their chances in what is admittedly for them a very tough group.
Yeah, and he'll provide them flexibility. So yeah, as you can say, he'll push onto the wing probably at times, run the channels, and allow others to get involved and help out the attack.
So those are the players that we think are going to shine in groups E and F at this tournament. And don't forget to go and check out Football Manager 2018. It's available now across all the different devices for up to 66% off. It really is a sensational deal. And of course, as I said earlier, don't forget to check out the Instagram page as well, Football Manager Instagram, where we're going to be giving away lots of prizes between now and the end of the tournament. We're already giving out some absolute belters. There's going to be more coming your way very, very soon. And don't forget to join us tomorrow afternoon when we're running through the players to watch in Group G. It's going to be a good one, so do check it out then.
If you want to find out more about any of the players featured in today's episode, then go and download FMDB, which is available now on iOS and Android.